Hey everyone, it's your buddy back again with another exciting fanfic. What if Naruto's mother learned he was still alive? Part 1. If you enjoy this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more fanfics like this. Now, let's dive right into the fanfic. Through her agony, she heard a baby's cry. She opened her eyes and focused. Give him to me, she said weakly. The attending physician checked her pulse, it was dropping dangerously. Kushina, you've lost a lot of blood. You need immediate surgery or you're going to die. The sight of all that blood bothered her, but she couldn't let herself freeze up when her friend's life was at stake. She held out her arms. Tsunade, give me my son. Frowning, Tsunade nevertheless put the wrapped child into his mother's arms. All right, but only for a moment. Then we have to begin the surgery. She carefully took her son and smiled down at him. He had his father's eyes. He was crying. Shish. Hush now, my little one. Hush, my little Naruto. Your mother is here and everything is all right. And as she held him, he quieted down. It stunned her just how much she loved him. Everything is all right, my little one. She whispered to him. Kushina, I have to take him. The man she loved, her husband, the father of her child, spoke. She looked up into his face and saw his tears. No, she begged. I take it back. You can't use him for this. Please, Minato, I beg you. Not for this. Isn't it enough that you're going to die? Must you do this to your own son? Her voice was breaking. She knew there was no choice, but she didn't care. Whose child shall I choose? Minato asked sadly. How can I ask some other parent to make a sacrifice that I am not willing to make? I don't care. She wailed and held him closer. It's too much to ask, it's not fair. No, Kushina, it's not. He agreed sadly. But it must be done. I am sorry, Kushina, but you have to go into surgery right now. Tsunade put a needle in her arm and injected her. No, don't. Kushina closed her eyes. Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage of Konohagakure, took his newborn son into his arms. He wept unashamedly. Forgive me, my darling wife. Forgive me, my beloved son, for what I must do now. He looked at Tsunade. Will she be all right? I hope so, but I can't guarantee it. He nodded. He prayed that both she and Naruto would be all right. But he knew that whatever happened, he would not be there to see. Please tell her that I love her and am truly sorry, but this is the only way. I will tell her, Tsunade promised. But she knows already. He looked at his crying son. They'll see you as a hero, my son. They will honor you for the sacrifice you make for their sakes. Tsunade watched him leave the operating room with his son. I am never going to see that brave man again. She couldn't even spend any more time regretting Minato's fate. She began the emergency surgery to try and save his wife. I shouldn't even be here. I should be in a casino hundreds of miles away, but when a friend asks you to deliver her child, how do you say no? She truly hated being in Konoha. Everything here just reminded her of all that she had lost. And now here she was trapped in the middle of a tragedy of epic proportions. If I survive this, I swear I am never coming back to this village ever again. She slowly opened her eyes. There was sunlight coming through a window. She was lying in a small bed. Good, you're awake. A familiar voice spoke. She had to focus for a moment. Tsunade. Tsunade smiled and nodded. She stood up from the chair she'd been sitting in and stretched. You're very lucky that I came. It was close, so how do you feel? Tired. More tired than I can ever remember being. I believe that. You're going to need to stay in bed for at least a week to fully recover. Then she suddenly remembered. She sat bolt upright and was rewarded with a sharp stabbing pain in her belly. Minato. Easy. Tsunade eased her back into the bed. No sudden movements. Your body is in a weakened state. You need to take it easy. She looked up at her friend. Tsunade, is Minato? Tsunade shook her head. I'm very sorry, Kushina, but he's gone. But he didn't die in vain. He stopped the Kyuubi and saved this entire village. She shut her eyes and grieved for him. Oh Minato, why? She opened her eyes and began to look about the room. Naruto. She looked at Tsunade in panic. Where is Naruto? Where is my son? He's alive, Kushina, and unhurt. Tsunade assured her, but then looked worried. Right now he is with the old man. There is an emergency meeting of the council. They are deciding his fate. What do you mean his fate? His mother demanded. I want my son right now. Kushina, I can't bring him to you, I'm sorry. Then bring me to him. She tossed off her blanket and began getting out of bed. Stop. Tsunade grabbed her. Kushina, if you push too hard, you'll reopen your wounds and die. Fine. She grunted in pain. Get me a wheelchair then, but I'm going to my son. Seeing the look in her eyes, she knew there was no arguing with her. She turned to her assistant Shizune. Please bring me a wheelchair. The demon must be killed now. Uchiha Fugaku roared to the general approval of the council. We cannot afford to waste the heroic sacrifice of the Yondaime. We must complete what he began. That would be quite short-sighted. Danzo stood and spoke firmly. This child could become Konoha's ultimate weapon. Alone he could guarantee this village's supremacy. And I say letting it live even a moment longer is too dangerous. Fugaku demanded. There is no it, the Sandaime said quietly and with dignity. There is a him. He pointed to the crib beside his seat. Amazingly, the child was sleeping peacefully through all the shouting. Do you understand what it is that you are suggesting, Fugaku? You wish not only to murder a helpless infant but the Yondaime's only son. I am truly sorry that it is necessary to sacrifice the Yondaime's son to guarantee the survival of this village. But how many innocents have died already? Fugaku asked. I say the demon must be killed. Touch him and I swear I will kill you. A woman's voice cried out from the doorway. They all stopped to look. There was Uzumaki Kushina in a hospital gown sitting in a wheelchair being pushed by none other than the Sannin Tsunade. Sarutobi, give me my son. I am taking him home with me right now. Kushina demanded. How dare you interrupt us? Uchiha Fugaku spoke up. This is a meeting of the council. You have no place here. My place is wherever my son is. Kushina shot back. And as for a meeting of the council, I believe Namikaze has a hereditary seat, does it not? With the death of my husband, I am now head of the Namikaze clan. Husband? Kaharu shouted. When were you married? Danzo demanded. A year and a half ago in Whirlpool Country. Minato-kun wanted to keep it secret to protect me. He did, however, have the marriage documents filed with the Office of Citizenry so that in case we had children, their citizenship would not be in dispute. Sarutobi can personally vouch for this as Minato gave him the papers. Before an argument could erupt, Sarutobi spoke up. It is true, and I can provide you all with copies of the documents. An unhappy murmur ran through the council. Everyone had known that Kushina was the woman in the Yondaime's life. No one questioned Naruto's paternity. But it made a world of difference to them whether he was a fatherless bastard or the legitimate heir to one of the richest and most honored clans in Konoha. This makes no difference. Fugaku shouted. Whether the child is legitimate or not, he must die to preserve Konoha. Lay one finger on him and I will kill you. Kushina threatened. And if she doesn't, then I will. Tsunade growled. I am Naruto's godmother and I'll slaughter anyone who threatens my godson. Hyuga Hiyashi suddenly stood up. The Hyuga clan will also protect this child. He declared loudly, which brought all conversation to a halt. Hyuga and Namikaze have shared close ties for generations, and the Yondaime was a dear friend to both me and my wife. Out of respect for his memory, we will not allow any harm to befall his son. This declaration by the Hyuga clan was decisive. Even Uchiha Fugaku had no stomach for openly opposing the Sandaime, Asanin, Namikaze, and Hyuga. Kushina looked over to Hiyashi and bowed her head to him in deepest gratitude. Hiyashi nodded in acknowledgement. Sarutobi, give me my son. Kushina said. Nodding, Sarutobi reached into the crib and did just that. His mother took him and held him close. Shish, there, my little one, it's all right now. I won't let anyone hurt you. The sight of a mother holding her child made many of the council members who had been calling for blood just moments ago reconsider. They were all ninja, they were all killers, but even for ninja there should be limits. Uchiha Fugaku did not change his mind, though he remained silent. I am going to pass a special decree. Sarutobi announced. In order to give this child some chance at a normal life. I order that no one who knows the truth of the Kyuubi be allowed to speak of it to anyone who does not know. And this will include speaking of it to your own children. The only people who shall be permitted to do so shall be the sitting Hokage and Naruto himself when he gets older. You should really still be in the hospital. Tsunade repeated. No, Kushina repeated. If the council members were that savage, I certainly don't trust the regular villagers. I can better protect Naruto here than in a hospital. All the servants have worked here for years and loved Minato. I trust none of them would ever harm his son. Tsunade sighed once again defeated. Kushina gave her friend a sly little smile. So you're his godmother, huh? Funny, I don't recall me or Minato ever offering you the position. Tsunade looked a bit embarrassed. It's called a bluff. Sometimes you can convince an opponent you have more in your hand than you really do. Kushina shrugged. It's fine, Tsunade. Since you've volunteered, the job is yours. If anything happens to me, I expect you to take care of my son. Tsunade looked at her in panic. Nothing had better happen to you. I am not cut out to be a mother. Kushina enjoyed her first honest laugh since the whole ordeal had begun. You'd better heal me well then. Look, Kushina, Tsunade said seriously. I'll stay until you're well, but once I leave, I'm not coming back. Ah, so you never want to see me or your godson ever again? She held up her son so his smiling face was looking directly at the Sannin. Naruto-kun would miss you, wouldn't you, my little Naruto-kun? Tsunade looked at the child's adorable little face. Stop it. You are shamelessly using your baby's cuteness against me. Kushina gave her one of her huge smiles. Whatever works. Tsunade grinned. All right, I'll tell you what. Since I have 2 reasons to come back here, I'll promise to return for at least a few days each year. How's that? Kushina turned her son around so that he was facing her. Well, what do you think? Naruto laughed at the funny face she made. Naruto, and I accept your terms. As she tried to chase down her son, she wondered if all 5-year-olds could possibly have this much energy. He was always a rather excitable boy, and now he was so excited about his party he was practically bouncing off the walls. Even with everything he had to endure, he was a very happy and in most ways very normal child. That amazed her sometimes. Naruto always seemed to be happy. She would think of the things he had missing in his life, such as his father, a group of friends his own age, or the freedom to go about unwatched. She would feel guilty thinking he was deprived. Yet then he would smile and laugh, and she would be reminded of what he did have. He had a home where he was protected and watched over, he had one kind-hearted girl who was his friend, and he had a mother who loved him with all of her heart. He had love and was never ever alone. That seemed enough to make him a very happy little boy. They lived in a mansion on a vast estate neighboring the Hyugas. They were wealthy and had loyal servants who cared for Naruto. They were rich in wealth, power, and honor. That did not mean life was easy or trouble-free. Naruto was rarely ever allowed to leave the Namikaze estates. When he did leave, he wore custom-made body armor, had an Anbu squad to escort him, and had his mom there armed to the teeth. The precautions were not excessive. There had been no fewer than 47 attempts on his life. A dozen of those had been made by shinobi, with the rest being made by regular citizens. That broke her heart. Minato-kun had tried to protect her from the enemies he had made in foreign villages. But it was his own people who wanted to kill his son. The people he had died to protect. To most of them her late husband was little short of a god. The people of Konoha worshipped his memory. Yet some of them saw no contradiction when they tried to kill his son. She didn't try to argue with or convince them. She just killed them. All around the perimeter of the Namikaze estate were large red signs with blocky black letters. These signs informed one and all that trespassers would be killed on sight and without warning. And they were. She had been one of the most powerful Jonin of Whirlpool Country when she'd met and fallen in love with Minato. Since her pregnancy, she'd not gone on a single mission. But she'd kept her skills sharp and put them to regular use. So far she had killed 14 shinobi, including 1 chunin and 1 jonin, and 137 citizens. She carried a razor-sharp 4-foot-long katana and was a blade master. She had no problem dulling it on anyone who threatened her child. Minato had been the world's leading seal master, surpassing even his sensei Jiraiya. Every inch of the perimeter and every entryway on the mansion had been warded. She was no seal master, but Minato had shown her enough to maintain and use the seals he'd put there. No one could enter the Namikaze estates or mansion without her knowing it. And when anyone did so without her permission, she killed them. She never asked them for their reasons or offered to let them surrender. Last year in the early morning of October 10th, half a dozen men managed to scramble over the 10-foot-high iron fence and barbed wire. They were clearly drunk and armed with nothing more deadly than bats and broken bottles. She could easily have knocked them out and tied them up. She didn't. She separated their heads from their drunken bodies and piled them up outside her front gate where people could see them. The Hokage had called her into his office after that and asked her why she had done that to men who were no real threat to her. Kushina replied that everyone in Konoha knew where the Namikaze estates were and who lived there. Those men had gone there deliberately, ignored the warning on the big red signs, and proceeded to climb over a 10-foot iron fence topped with barbed wire. If they were willing to do all that for the sake of trying to harm her son, then they were serious enough to deserve killing. Legally, there was really nothing Sarutobi could do. When Konoha had been founded, the clans had been granted special privileges. One being that the clans were given the right to deal with trespassers in any fashion they chose, up to and including killing them on sight. Kushina deliberately fostered a frightening reputation. She thought that was the best answer for so much mindless fear and hate. Since that incident, there had been only 4 attempts in the past year. Hey mom, Naruto was jumping around her. Yes dear, after the party can we go train some? His mother smiled at him and nodded. If that's what you want to do, then of course dear. Yeah, he shouted and ran off again. He was only 5, but she had been giving him training. She had brought him up on stories of his father. That part of his legacy he knew well. The other part would wait a few more years. He had embraced his heritage as the son and heir of the great man and was determined to be even greater. He wanted to be Hokage and to protect the village as his father had done. That was her son's dream, and she would do everything in her power to make it happen. So far she had given him taijutsu training and started on basic weapons. Kunai and shuriken. He was already itching to get a katana in his hands. But he would have to master kunai and shuriken first. He loved training with her. No exercise was too hard or too repetitive so long as he was doing it with her. She would start giving him ninjutsu training before he entered the academy. She had already decided that he would attend the academy. Not so much for the instruction as for the chance to interact with his peers. If he was going to be Hokage one day, then he would need to know how to deal with people in different situations. Hiyashi, his wife Hana, and their little daughter Hinata arrived. Welcome and thank you so much for coming. Kushina greeted them. Since that day in the council meeting, Hiyashi and the Hyuga clan were about the only people in Konoha willing to treat Naruto like a normal child. On those rare occasions she had to be away, he stayed at the Hyuga mansion under their protection. It is our pleasure, Hiyashi said. Hinata has been looking forward to this all week. Hana said with a smile. Naruto stepped forward and offered them a proper greeting. He then turned to Hinata, his favorite playmate and only friend of his own age, and gave her a huge smile. Hey Hinata-chan, want to play? The little girl immediately blushed and pressed her index fingers together. Sure Naruto-kun. He grabbed her hand and led the way. As the two of them went off to play, the parents all shared a smile. Don't they make a cute couple? Kushina asked. They do indeed. Hiyashi agreed. Kakashi Nisan. Naruto shouted excitedly. The Anbu captain and former student of his father's smiled at him from beneath his mask. Yo, happy birthday Naruto. Can you summon your dogs so I can play with them? He asked eagerly. Sure. Kakashi had taken it upon himself to watch out for his beloved sensei's son. When Naruto left the estates, Kakashi was always the one in charge of the Anbu escort. He also made it a point to visit him regularly to share stories about his father. Naruto in turn had come to look up to him as an older brother. The door opened to reveal a ninja with huge spiky white hair and red lines running down from his eyes. Look, my little one. Do you know who this is? Pervy granddad. He sang out. A vein immediately began to throb on Jiraiya's forehead. Kid, I've told you before not to call me that. Naruto-kun, where did you come up with that name? Kushina asked, sounding surprised. Her son looked up at her in confusion. You told me to call him that, mommy. Oh, that's right. Now I remember. She sent Jiraiya a big smile. He's going to end up with your sense of humor. Jiraiya said flatly. Yes, I suppose he will. Kami, help us all. Is there sake? Godmother, Auntie Shizune. Naruto jumped into Tsunade's arms. He was immediately caught up and smothered in kisses from the two women. Tsunade put him and smiled. Well Naruto, is it just my imagination or do you just keep getting cuter every time I see you? He put his hands behind his head and gave her a huge smile. No, I'm getting cuter. Both women burst out laughing. Oh, I agree you definitely are. Shizunu said. Kushina watched with an impish grin. Still don't think you're cut out for motherhood. Tsunade sent her friend a grin. A few days a year are my limit, any more than that and I'd go crazy. Tsunade, good to see you again. A slightly tipsy Jiraiya came out. She sent Kushina a betrayed look. I didn't know he was going to be here. Why didn't you tell me he'd be here? Kushina smiled. I wanted you to come. Frowning, Tsunade grabbed the bottle of sake Jiraiya was holding. Give me that. She brought it to her lips and downed it in one swig. Is something wrong, godmother? She smiled down at Naruto with a bit more color in her cheeks. Oh no, honey, I'm just happy. Jiraiya laughed. Wait a couple hours and she'll be even happier. Kushina just managed to cover up her son's eyes so he didn't see godmother start beating on granddad. Hello Naruto, happy birthday. Hey old man, Naruto said. Naruto-kun, please show our guest the proper respect and call him Hokage-sama. Kushina said gently. What? An insulted Jiraiya approached them. His left eye was closed and the large black eye made an interesting contrast to the rest of his face. I am Jiraiya, one of the 3 ninjas of legend, the all-knowing Toad Sage, as well as a respected and famous author. How come you have Naruto treat Sarutobi with respect but not me? Kushina sent him a frosty smile. Sarutobi never tried to peep on me in the bathhouse. It was a compliment. Oh yeah, well if you ever try and compliment me like that again I'll take something a lot more precious to you than your life. Her eyes dropped to a spot below his belt. He suddenly stiffened and walked away. I'm getting more sake before Tsunade drinks it all. The Hokage let out a depressed sigh. My students. As she talked to Hana she felt a familiar sensation on her arm. Damn it, why now? Keeping a serene look on her face she excused herself. She calmly walked to the outer hallway. Seeing she was alone she quickly rolled up one of her sleeves to expose her left forearm. On it was an intricate tattoo of a tree with branches and 132 leaves. Each leaf contained a number. The tattoo was of course a seal. One Jiraiya had been kind enough to give her that connected her to all the wards on the estates. Looking at the tattoo, the tree trunk, branches, and leaves all seemed to be made of black ink. Except for the leaf that bore the number 77, that one was red. She rolled the sleeve back down and casually headed towards the front door. Her habit of always being armed and in her gear meant she didn't have to waste time getting ready. With luck she could be back before anyone even knew she had gone. Mom. Naruto ran up to her just as she was heading for the door. She let out a small sigh. He seemed to have a sixth sense when it came to her leaving or returning. Mom, where are you going? He latched onto her leg. Smiling, she reached down and stroked one of his whiskered cheeks. Mommy just needs to take care of something, then I'll be right back. He tightened his grip on her leg. Don't go, Mom. I want you to stay. She looked into his face and saw that he was scared. He was a very strong and brave boy. Most of the time he handled things with a maturity far beyond his years. But then there were times when he behaved like a 5-year-old. More specifically, he acted like a 5-year-old whose mother was his entire world. He usually hid it well, but she knew he hated it whenever she was away. Smiling, she bent down and gave him a comforting hug. It's all right, my dear one. She looked over at the grandfather clock in the hall. Naruto-kun, what time does the clock say? He looked over at the large ornate clock. It says 7:33. She gave him a confident look. Mommy will be back in 5 minutes, before the clock says 7:38. This seemed to calm his fears. Promise, Mommy. I promise. She gave him a kiss on his cheek. I never go back on my word, for that is my ninja way. Now go and play with Hinata. Naruto nodded and went into the family room where Hinata was rubbing Pakun's belly. She checked her watch and hurried to the door. Kakashi had watched the scene play out and a suspicion what was going on. Anything I can help you with, Kushina? She sent the young Anbu captain a light-hearted smile. Oh no, just woman's work. She didn't have trouble finding him. He was hiding in some bushes on the southern end of the estates where the woods were. They always through the south end where the trees and shrubs were. Never mind that there were 300 yards of flat ground and mowed grass to the mansion. You're early. Her voice called to him. Ack. The single man jumped to his feet, pulled out his weapon, and looked up. There, about 20 feet above him, stood a beautiful woman with long red hair. As she was currently defying gravity, standing parallel to the ground, her feet planted on the tree trunk. Her hair draped off to the side. She was dressed in a black bodysuit with very dark red stripes running down the arms and legs. Around her forehead she wore a Hittite, but not one with the leaf symbol. Hers had 8 lines curving to meet in the center, like a pinwheel or whirlpool. Along her belt she had several pouches, and some bulky lines along her body suggested she wore body armor underneath. He could also see the handle of a weapon sticking out from behind her left shoulder. Red Death. He gasped. She smiled and nodded. Yeah, that's what idiots like you call me. She shrugged. It's fine, since that's exactly what I am to anyone who threatens my son. She looked at her watch. I have to be back in 3.5 minutes, that's how long you have left to live. She looked down at him, considering. You know, I decided to celebrate his birthday a day early because every October 10th I have to deal with idiots like you. The first year I had to deal with 3 separate groups, one of them led by a Chunin. So after last year I finally decided to just celebrate it a day early. I mean, so long as he gets to eat cake, open presents, and play with people, he's happy. Maybe next year we'll just celebrate in July or August. She looked at her watch again. 3 minutes to go now. Why? The man choked out. Why what? Why am I talking to you? Why do I love double mint fudge? Why do you protect that monster? He never saw them coming. All he saw were her arms move in a blur. The next thing he knew, he was on the ground screaming. A dozen kunai were jutting out of him. As he continued to cry out, she spoke to him in a clear, calm voice. You're not very bright, are you? Here's a tip. Never tell a mother her child is a monster. Here's another tip. If you're just a villager with a rusty sword, don't take on a ninja. Especially not if she used to be an Anbu captain in her homeland. And just one more tip. When you see big red signs posted everywhere, you should pay attention to them. She glanced at her watch. 2 minutes. Despite his pain and being at her mercy, he looked up at her in pure hate. He killed my father. He crushed him. Who did? She asked, not caring to make anything easy for him. You know who. If you mean my son, I don't see how he could, as he's not very heavy. You mock me. He growled. No, I'd have to like you at least a little bit to mock you. I find you and your kind utterly despicable. I am sorry for the loss of your father to the Kyubi. Though I doubt you believe me, the fact is I mean that. I lost my husband, and I loved him. I hate the Kyubi as much as anyone in this village. But hating the prisoner in no way justifies attacking his jailer. He has the Kyubi inside him. That's right, she said. My husband gave his life to imprison the Kyubi, and my son will spend every day of his life keeping the Kyubi imprisoned. And just so you know, this is the last minute of your life. He has to die to protect the village. As he watched the one they called Red Death leapt down beside him, she reached over her shoulder and pulled out a long, thin, curved blade. No, she said firmly. He has to live to protect this village. He is my husband's legacy. He has all of Minato's strengths inside him. I can see in him that same love and courage that made my husband what he was. And when I look close, I can see the greatest of all future Hokages. He will protect this village someday as his father did. And now, she lifted her katana high over her head. Go to whatever hell is reserved for those who would kill children. The sword fell and did its work in a single cut. She ran in and looked at the clock. 15 seconds to spare. She quickly approached her son, confident he would not notice anything. One of the advantages of wearing black and dark red was that blood stains were practically invisible. See, my dear one, mommy made it back just like she promised. Naruto looked up at her excitedly. Mom, can we open presents now? Kushina smiled and nodded. Of course, dear, anything for you. He was standing in front of a mirror looking at himself. The body armor felt a little snug like always, but he liked the way it looked. You look so handsome, my little Naruto-kun, his mother said happily. He looked at her and hesitated a bit. Mom, he said, is it all right to be scared? With a gentle smile, she went down on her knees and hugged him tight. My little one, of course it is. I've felt fear many times. You. He looked at her in shock. She laughed and pulled him into another hug. Of course. Being shinobi doesn't mean we stop being human. Bravery is not having a lack of fear. It's the ability to do what you need to even in the face of your fear. Always do what you know to be right, even if you are afraid. If you do that, I will always be proud of you. He immediately hugged her back fiercely. I want you to be proud of me, Mom. My little one, I have never been anything else. When he finally let go of her, she got up to get his coat and help him put it on. Once it was on, he looked at himself in the mirror again. Mom, if I wear this, everyone is going to notice me. He looked at her questioningly. You always say a good ninja should be able to blend in anywhere. Won't this make me stand out? She nodded, pleased that he had taken that lesson to heart. Most boys his age were eager to stand out. Naruto wanted to earn people's respect through his actions. He didn't care about simply being noticed for how he looked. In this village, Naruto-kun, there is no avoiding that. When you begin your shinobi career and travel to other places, you can try and become invisible. But in Konoha, everyone who looks at you will know who you are. Suddenly her face changed and she gave him one of her rare stern looks. Inside he panicked and wondered if he had done something wrong. Listen very carefully to what I am about to say, Naruto. Paling a bit, he nodded and gave his mom his complete attention. People are going to look at you, Naruto, and some of them will hate you. Don't ever wonder if it's your fault they look at you with hate. Those people are blind and will never see the truth no matter how many times you show it to them. But for everyone else, try and show them what is in here. She gently touched his chest. And here. She touched his forehead. Show all of them that you are Namikaze, Naruto. You are your father's son and you are my son. In you is all the best of the Namikaze and Uzumaki clans. In you, my son, is a great man and great leader. Someday you will be clan head and, I have no doubt, you will be the greatest of all Hokages. She shut her eyes and tried not to sob. Oh Minato, if only you could see him, how proud you'd be. Mom, why are you crying? Naruto felt himself about to start crying as well and didn't know why. Opening her eyes, she quickly wiped her cheeks and gave him a reassuring smile. I am crying because the world is unfair. Naruto, I want you to promise me something. Anything, Mom. Promise me that whatever happens in your life, no matter how you may be hated, no matter what terrible secrets you may learn, and no matter how hard things may become, promise me that you will never forget who you are. He put his arms around her and hugged her with all of his might. Mom, I swear to you on my life that I will never forget who I am or who I come from. That's my promise of a lifetime. And you never go back on your word because that is your nindo. She smiled at her son. He nodded. Just like yours. She gave her son a kiss on the cheek and brightened a bit. Well, let's go, Naruto-kun, or your silly mother will make you late for your first day at the academy. Are you all right, Hinata-san? Kurenai asked, feeling real sympathy for the poor girl. She seemed very depressed. I am fine, she said dully. Please just call me Hinata. Just a short while ago her father had told her that he was disappointed in her and did not think she was a worthy successor. Since her mother's death 2 years ago, her father had grown increasingly distant and critical. His harsh words not only hurt her, they played on her own self-doubt. I'm weak. Maybe father is right. Hey Hinata-chan. Her thoughts lifted when she heard his voice. He and his mother were approaching. She immediately noticed how he was dressed. Oh, hello Naruto-kun, why, you look very handsome this morning. She felt herself begin to blush as she smiled shyly. Her index fingers were pressing against each other. Naruto gave her one of his big smiles and scratched the back of his head. Thanks Hinata-chan, you look as cute as you always do. Hearing that, she immediately went 3 shades darker. Kurenai offered a formal bow to the woman who was the head of the Namikaze clan. I am Yuhi Kurenai and am most honored to meet you, Kushina-san. I thank you for allowing Hinata and I to accompany you and your son. Kushina smiled and returned the bow. Please call me Kushina. And you are very welcomed. Hinata is a dear child and I welcome one more set of eyes to watch out for trouble. Hinata laughed and the two of them looked at her and Naruto. Kurenai grinned and sent Kushina a questioning look. Kushina grinned and nodded. 2 Anbu operatives landed about 10 feet from them. One of them approached and bowed to Kushina. Kushina-san, I am Captain Tenzo and I am in charge of the 2-man Anbu squad that will escort your son to the academy and back again. Kushina acknowledged him with a slight bow of her own. Thank you, Captain. With Kakashi out of the village, I trust that you will make sure of my son's safety. Kakashi thinks highly of you and I trust his opinion. If he trusts you then I will as well. Thank you Kushina-san. He and his partner disappeared. Kushina turned to the two children. Shall we go? Yeah. Come on Hinata. As was his habit he grabbed her hand and led the way. As was her habit she blushed and followed him. Hinata kept a small grin as they walked in public. Though she knew they were only friends she let herself pretend for a bit that he was her boyfriend and they were strolling hand in hand. As they went down the streets they noticed. As Kushina had warned her son, everyone in Konoha knew instantly who he was. And if by some bizarre miracle they hadn't, what he was wearing would have driven it home. The reception was about what Kushina had expected. Perhaps 1 in 10 people openly scowled or looked angrily at them. But no one dared to yell or curse at them, never mind approach them. Kushina's reputation was such that even on crowded streets they tended to be given at least 10 feet of space. About 1 in 10 actually bowed or cheered as they passed. These were people to whom Naruto was the Yondaimi's son, not the Kyuubi. To them at least Naruto really was a hero, or at least the son of a hero, which would do. To Kushina this minority represented how everyone in Konoha should have behaved towards her son. Seeing them gave Kushina a small hope that things would get better. Actually they had gotten better. There had been no attacks for a year and a half, not even on the last anniversary. Kushina wasn't sure if that meant people were finally becoming more understanding or that she had finally killed enough idiots to make her point clear. Probably a combination of both, but so long as they stop attacking Naruto I don't really care why. So 10% still hated him, 10% loved him, and the other 80%. They got out of the way and kept their faces blank. What were they thinking? A Yumenka might have known but she didn't. Were the majority just better at hiding their hatreds or were they simply accepting of things? Time would tell she supposed. So what are you up to foreheads girl? A loud blonde 8-year-old girl shouted. What do you mean Ino pig? A fierce pink-haired girl replied. I know you're planning to sit near Sasuke-kun. Well go ahead and give it up. No one is getting Sasuke but me. Sasuke-kun is going to fall in love with me Ino pig. He and I share one soul. It's destiny. Destiny. Let me tell you something she suddenly noticed a small group entering the academy grounds. She noticed one person in particular. An extremely well-dressed and muscular-looking blonde boy. And he was walking hand in hand with a Hyuga. Hello Earth to Ino pig. Sakura snapped her fingers in front of her best friend, worst enemy. What's wrong with you? Hey Sakura, who is that? She pointed. I thought I knew all the hot boys in Konoha but I've never seen him before. Sakura took a look. I don't know. But back to Sasuke, A dark-haired girl who wore her hair in pigtails suddenly squealed. It's him. Delona said. Who? Ino asked, really curious now. Delona gave them a dreamy smile. The Yondaimi's son. Upon reaching the academy grounds they stopped. Checking her watch she saw the kids had 5 minutes. She put a hand on her son's shoulder. Did you bring everything? She asked him. Yes mom. Do you have your lunch? He nodded. Do you have your kunai and shuriken? Yes, and they're all sharpened. I see you have your sword. He wore it on his back like she did. Is that sharp too? He frowned. Well, it's as sharp as I can get it, but it's just a regular old sword. Now if I had a katana. No, she continued. You have your radio communicator. Of course, and it's preset to the emergency frequency. If anything happens just hit the send button and I will be here in less than 2 minutes. I know mom, he said in a bored tone. He loved her but she was treating him like a little kid. Now if anyone attacks you for any reason, even if it's an instructor or someone in Anbu uniform, I hit the communicator and fight with my sword. And when the sword is drawn. When the sword is drawn ready it to take blood, for when the sword is drawn safety comes only in the death of your foes. Kushina nodded, that was the correct answer, she hadn't expected anything less. She racked her brain trying to think of anything that might have been overlooked. Oh, Naruto-kun, did you put on clean underwear this morning? Hinata couldn't help herself, she started giggling. Naruto put his head in his hands. Mom please. The Yondaimi's son. Ino said excitedly. I didn't know he was even going to be in our class. Delona, are you sure? The girl rolled her eyes. Look at him for a second. He's practically a younger version of the Yondaimi. Plus if that's not enough, look who he's talking to. Red-haired kunoichi with a sword and a whirlpool Hitai-ite. Ino's jaw dropped. Of course she was the queen of all gossip and knew about everyone who was anyone. So of course she knew all about Namikaze Kushina. I don't believe it's really her. The Redda, HMPH. Sakura slapped a hand over her mouth. Are you crazy? Sakura whispered to her irate blonde friend. You know the stories. If she hears you call her that, she'll kill you. No, Delona said with certainty. It's if you say her name 3 times in a row in a darkened room. Another girl spoke up. I heard that if she catches you alone after dark, she'll cut your head off and bring it home with her. Well, I heard that she comes to cut your head off if you do it before you get married. Another girl spoke up. Do what? Sakura asked. Ino finally managed to get her surprisingly strong friend's hand off her mouth. Enough. Ino turned to rail at Sakura and the other girls. What is wrong with all of you? You give Kunoichi a bad name. She's obviously just a powerful ninja and nothing else. I swear you're all a bunch of chickens. How are you going to be ninja if you're scared of a bunch of wild stories? Oh really? Sakura asked. Well, I don't see you going up to talk to her. If you're so brave, go and say something to her. I would, but I don't have anything to say. Ino replied. Sakura grinned. Sure. Ino chicken, sure. A couple of the other girls began to make clucking sounds. Ino's face darkened. There were 2 things she never allowed people to question. Her fashion sense and her courage. Fine. I'll show you what a real kunoichi is. She headed to where the whirlpool ninja was talking to the miniature yondaime. Ino actually smiled. Maybe I can make a really good impression on him. Naruto-kun, Hinata asked quietly. She was looking at the academy and other children nervously. Yes, Hinata-chan. Looking into his clear blue eyes, she found herself wishing she was more like him. He didn't have any weaknesses, she seemed to be nothing but. Naruto-kun, she hesitated. She would never admit this to her father, but she felt sure the Namikazes and Kurenai would not tell him. And she was desperate for some comfort. Naruto-kun, I'm scared. She immediately cast her eyes down. I know that I shouldn't be, but I am. It's okay. Hinata-chan, I'm a little scared too. Her eyes shot up and she stared at him, not believing it. You. He grinned. Yeah, me, but it's alright because even though we're shinobi, we're still human too. Being brave isn't about not feeling fear, it's about overcoming the fear to do what you have to. She began pressing her fingers together nervously. Wah, what if you're not strong enough to overcome the fear? Naruto reached out and took both her hands into his. Hinata-chan, I'm sure you have all the strength you need to meet any challenge. I believe in you. Those were the kindest words she'd heard since her mother had passed. And they meant much more to her than Naruto would ever guess. Naruto-kun, I feel courage when I look at you. She swallowed. She wasn't quite that brave, yet. I feel strong enough now, arigato. Kushina smiled. My Naruto-kun, you've grown very wise. Maybe we shouldn't even bother with the academy after all. Maybe we should just give you the graduation test right now. He looked at her excitedly. If I pass it, will you give me a katana? No. Hello. They all turned to look at a young blonde girl in a purple dress and leg wrappings. Hello. Kushina answered. The girl immediately bowed to her. I am Yamanaka Ino. This is my first day at the academy. I am hoping to make some new friends. She sent Naruto a huge smile. Hinata got the feeling that Ino didn't even see her. Ino looked at Kushina and spoke carefully as though she were treading a minefield. Am I mistaken in believing that you are Namikaze Kushina? And that this is your very handsome son? Kushina gave the girl a slight nod. She didn't miss the way she was eyeing her son or the nervous way Hinata was pressing her index fingers together. Kushina let out a small sigh. Well, I wanted him to interact with his peers. He was bound to meet a girl besides Hinata sometime. I didn't expect the very first one to be quite so friendly. I am Kushina and this is my son Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, and Yuha Kurenai. I am pleased to meet you, Ino. She offered Kushina another bow. I am greatly honored to meet you, Kushina-san. She turned her full attention to Naruto. I am also very happy to meet you, Naruto-kun. Kushina raised an eyebrow. Very friendly. Hinata stood there and simply pressed her index fingers together even more nervously. Kun. She's just met him and she is already calling him Naruto-kun. She's very pretty and very sure of herself, not like me. Naruto gave her a very wary smile and a slight bow. He wasn't sure what to make of her, but he didn't want to offend anyone on the first day. I am very happy to meet you as well, Ino. She laughed and put a hand on his arm. Oh, please call me Ino-chan. She gave Hinata a quick glance. And is this your friend? Naruto nodded. Yes, Hinata-chan is my very best friend. Ino turned her full attention on Hinata now. She was still smiling, but the smile was not the same one she had given Kushina or Naruto. This one had something a bit predatory in it. Oh, Hinata-chan, I hope we can be friends too. It's so sweet that Naruto-kun thinks of you as his best friend. Most boys aren't comfortable having girls as just friends. It's nice that Naruto doesn't have trouble seeing you that way. Well, I have to get to class, I'll see you inside. She reached out and touched his arm again. Bye, Naruto-kun. As she walked away, she put just a little bit of sway in her hips. Hinata looked down at the ground. In about half a minute, that girl had managed to make her feel completely ugly and plain. She obviously wasn't someone Naruto-kun would ever choose to be with. Weird, Naruto said. Without a thought, he grabbed Hinata's hand and began leading her to the academy entrance. Come on, Hinata-chan, we don't want to be late. He was looking at the academy so completely missed the look of relief on Hinata's face. Kushina watched the two of them go with a shake of the head. It suddenly occurred to her that of all the lessons she had given her son on history, ethics, math, taijutsu, weapons, chakra control, and other subjects, she hadn't spoken to him even once about girls and how to deal with them. She shook her head, not believing she had completely forgotten something so vital. Great, I've sent him into battle completely unarmed. Well, if he survives today, I'll start explaining about girls tonight. After all, they're at least as dangerous to him as assassins. Wow, I can't believe you actually talked to her, Ino. What did she say? Delona was pulling on her pigtails excitedly. Forget her. What did he say? The Yondaimi's son? Another girl asked. Oh, you mean Naruto-kun? She said indifferently. Naruto-kun. You actually called him that? Delona practically screamed. I sure did. Ino sounded as though it were the least important thing in the world. Let's get to class, I'll tell you all about talking to Naruto-kun in there. Hey Ino pig. Don't think I didn't see what you did. You were flirting with him. How dare you do that to Sasuke-kun? Ino sent Sakura a self-satisfied little smile. Sasuke who? Naruto and Hinata stepped into the classroom together. Most of the children were already seated. Many of them seemed to know each other and there was loud chatter. Naruto looked at the seats, trying to find a couple that were open-net to each other. Who are you supposed to be? A voice spoke to him. Naruto looked over to the first row where a boy with black hair and dark eyes was looking amused. Excuse me? Naruto asked. What's with the get-up? The boy clarified. Naruto was wearing a black bodysuit with dark red stripes along the arms and legs. Beneath he wore his custom-made body armor. Along his belt were several pouches and on his back he had a sword strapped on. But that wasn't what had gotten the other boy's attention. It was the cloak. Naruto had on a pristine white cloak with flames along the bottom. It was an exact replica of what his father had worn as Hokage. When Naruto wore it, the resemblance was unmistakable. I wear it in honor of my father. Naruto said tightly. For him, his father was a subject he could not speak of without strong feeling. The boy chuckled, thinking the newcomer who was obviously just desperate to get attention. Sure, you're just trying to be a fake Yondaime. The boy's chuckle was cut off when he suddenly felt a killer intent stronger than any he ever had. The blonde boy's hands were twitching and his eyes were looking at him with something dark and hateful. He wasn't the only one in the room who could sense such intense feeling. The talk in the classroom died away and everyone looked at the boy who was glaring at Sasuke. Hinata could feel their eyes on her as well as the killer intent coming off Naruto. She felt like shrinking away. Naruto didn't seem to notice. My name is Namikaze Naruto, he said in a voice that was low and tight. My father was Namikaze Minato, the Yondaime Hokage. Sasuke smiled and leaned back in his chair. Oh, so you're him, huh? My father said I should stay away from you, that you were dangerous. Your father was right. He took a breath and brought his anger back under control. What's your name? Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto smiled. Well, Sasuke, my first impression is that you're a jerk. He reached back to take hold of Hinata's hand again. Come on, Hinata, there are a couple seats in the top row. Sasuke watched him go with a smirk. His mom might be dangerous, but he was nothing special. Ino watched as the two of them passed her. Seeing her, Naruto gave a quick nod, which she took as proof of his infatuation with her. He is so cool. She sighed. You're drooling. A bored voice next to her said. Shut up, you lazy jerk. Don't disturb me when I'm thinking about my one true love. Yours and every other girl's. I almost feel sorry for Sasuke. Ha. She gave the sleepy boy next to her a triumphant smile. Shows what you know. I am so over Sasuke. Oh. Shikamaru somehow found the energy to lift one eyebrow. Who's your latest victim? Ow. He rubbed the back of his head. HMPH. Well, it just so happens that I have fallen completely in love with Namikaze Naruto. Shikamaru craned his neck to look at the seats on the top row across from him. For him, this was a huge effort. He looked at the boy sitting talking to a girl who was obviously a Hyuga. His get-up was obviously meant to draw attention. My folks told me to be very careful around him, but they wouldn't say why. He shrugged. Not that they needed to, given who his mom is. Every child in the classroom had been told more or less the same thing about Naruto. The exact words and the degree of vehemence varied, but the basic message was the same. Stay away. And none of them would say why exactly. Of course, all the children were smart enough to figure out the reason. His mother was someone so scary mothers used her to frighten their children. It was easy to understand why the parents would want their children to keep clear of her son. Anyway, he doesn't look dangerous. Oh, he is. She looked over dreamily. You can tell just by looking at him. For Ino and most of the other girls, the fact that her parents had warned her to stay away from him only made him even more attractive. He was dangerous. She even liked those weird scars on his cheeks. They gave him an exotic sort of feral look. He was definitely one of a kind. She was starting to drool again. Shikamaru decided saying anything more would be troublesome, so he put his head back down and tried to take a nap. Iruka and Mizuki both stood in the doorway observing the class for a moment. They had both witnessed the confrontation between Sasuke and Naruto. They had been on the point of intervening when Naruto brought his killer intent back under control. So what do you think? Mizuki asked. Iruka sighed. I think these are going to be a very interesting 4 years. He gave Mizuki a small grin. He really does look like him, doesn't he? Mizuki nodded warily. On the outside he does. But then he smiled. He certainly doesn't lack confidence. We have an Uchiha, a Hyuga, and a Namikaze in one class. This has got to be the first time that's happened in at least 20 years. Iruka sighed. At least he seems to be getting along with the Hyuga girl. Hopefully he learns to get along with the Uchiha as well. Somehow I don't think that's going to happen. He looked at his watch. It's 8. Iruka nodded. Right. With that, he and Mizuki entered the classroom. The children quickly quieted down when they saw them. Iruka took a spot directly in front of their seats. He gave them all a smile and motioned for silence. After a moment he spoke. Hello children, my name is Yumino Iruka, and this is my associate Manos Mizuki. You will refer to us as Iruka-sensei and Mizuki-sensei. For the next 4 years while you are here, we will be your primary instructors in the ninja arts. While you are here in this classroom or in the dojo or in the practice fields, you are our responsibility. In the mornings we will concentrate on texts and written materials. At these times I will usually be in charge. In the afternoons, after lunch, you will receive physical exercise and training in taijutsu and basic weapons. At these times Mizuki will normally be in charge of you. Along with this standard instruction, you can also expect to go on several field trips to develop survival skills. Now, to help us to get to know each other, I would like each of you to stand up and tell us who you are and what you hope to become. One by one the students did so. I want, munch munch munch, to be just like my dad and show everyone that a pleasantly plump person can be a great ninja. HMPH, I want to be an ordinary ninja, have an ordinary career, marry a girl who is not too pretty or too ugly, have 2 kids, a girl and then a boy, retire when my daughter marries and my son becomes a ninja, and then enjoy a peaceful and carefree retirement until I die before my wife. I want to prove that a kunoichi can be beautiful and powerful. And I want to win the love of a special someone. The girl turned around and blew Naruto a kiss. Naruto had no idea what to think of this while Hinata began to press her index fingers again. I want to be a good kunoichi and I also want. The girl looked at Sasuke and dissolved into giggles. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I want to prove myself worthy of my father's respect and to match my Nissan. I seek to master all of my clan's jutsus and to eventually help breed a new species of Kikai bug. I want to become a great ninja and fight with my dog Akamaru. As her turn approached, she began to panic at the thought of all those people looking her and her having to talk. But then she felt Naruto's hand cover hers. He could always tell when she was really nervous. He leaned in and whispered to her. Don't worry, Hinata-chan. I know you'll be fine. She smiled at him and nodded. Arigato, Naruto-kun. It was amazing how just his touch and just a few words could set her mind at ease. When her turn came, she stood and spoke in a clear voice. I am Hyuga Hinata. I wish to become a strong leader for my clan and to earn my father's respect, and the respect of one other person. She sat back down, relieved she had managed to get through that without a stutter. Naruto slowly stood. I am Namikaze Naruto. I have only one goal, an ambition really. I want to be the greatest Hokage that Konoha has ever seen. No one laughed at him. For they all knew that such a thing was hardly impossible for one with the Namikaze name and the blood of a Hokage in his veins. Iruka nodded, well satisfied with how well it had gone. Most of them lacked a strong sense of purpose and fell back on the standard answer of just being a great ninja or kunoichi. That was normal. While they were here, they would develop a strong sense of what they wanted or they would wash out. Some of them already possessed a very strong sense of purpose. His eyes drifted back up to Naruto. Well, thank you, that was very informative. You can trust both Mizuki and myself to do everything we can to help each and every one of you to reach your goals. Now we need to get an idea of your abilities. To begin with, can any of you use a jutsu? He didn't expect anyone to raise their hands. At this age, only someone who was a genius would be able to mold chakra. But to his very great surprise, not one but 3 hands rose. Well, this should be interesting. Very well. Sasuke, Shikamaru, and Naruto, come down here please. The 3 boys were soon standing before him. All right, who would like to go first? Shikamaru spoke up. Man, this is a drag, let me go so I can rest again. Iruka frowned at him. You should be well rested when you come here each day. There is no excuse for not being ready for a full day when you arrive here. In any case, please show me your jutsu. Shikamaru nodded and went through some hand signs. Shadow possession technique. His shadow flowed 5 feet until it merged with Iruka's. Iruka was compelled to put his hands on his head and begin dancing around, mimicking Shikamaru and greatly amusing everyone in the class. All right, that's enough. Iruka called out. Shikamaru ended the jutsu and Iruka tried to regather his dignity. Thank you, Shikamaru, that was very impressive. Shikamaru nodded and slouched back to his seat. Sasuke, why don't you go next? The boy smirked. Can we go outside? It's a fire jutsu. Iruka nodded. All right, class, we're going outside. After about 5 minutes, the class and instructors had assembled on the asphalt outside. All right, Sasuke, please demonstrate. Sasuke ran through the hand signs. Fireball technique. From his mouth, a boulder of fire at least 5 feet across appeared. He let it land on the asphalt. He heard the other kids all shout and applaud, of course. He calmly turned back to his stunned instructors. Both of them were gaping at him. Very impressive, Sasuke. Iruka praised. The power of the Uchiha clan. Mizuki said with a little bit of awe. Smiling happily, he headed back to rejoin the other students. As he passed Naruto, he smiled at him. Top that fake Yondaime. Naruto shot him daggers from his eyes as the smug little genius passed him. His hands twitched and he longed to take out his sword. He did manage to keep his killer intent from spiking though. Oh, I'll top that, you arrogant little jerk. When Iruka called him forward, he decided to put as much chakra as he could into this. He thought this might go well. He was seriously pissed off at the moment and he'd found that whenever he got really angry he seemed to have more chakra than usual. He thought of it as red chakra and it always felt different from his regular chakra, he could feel it in him now. He went through the hand signs. Shadow clone technique. And then just for an instant the entire area was covered with smoke. When the smoke lifted, Iruka, Mizuki, and the class were entirely surrounded by about 200 clones. What? Mizuki stared out in complete shock. He wasn't the only one, the entire class was shouting and pointing. Iruka reached out and actually touched the two nearest clones. Sure enough, they weren't illusions. Naruto, how on earth did you do that? What do you mean? He looked at the one who had answered. Shadow clones are a high-level Jonin jutsu. How did you learn it? Oh, well, my mom tried teaching me how to make regular bushins, but I was terrible at it, still am. It turns out I have a lot of chakra capacity, even more than my mom has. She finally realized that the reason I couldn't make bushins was that I have trouble controlling very small amounts of chakra. I actually have an easier time with jutsus that require lots of chakra. So she had me learn how to make shadow clones. But it's a forbidden jutsu, Mizuki spoke up. How did you get access to it? It's in my family library. Naruto replied casually. Really? Mizuki said. Well, now this has possibilities. Naruto, just how long did it take you to learn this? Iruka asked. Naruto shrugged. It just took a few hours, it wasn't that hard. Now Iruka and Mizuki were both staring at him open-mouthed. What? Iruka shook his head. He had learned an A-rank jutsu in a few hours and performed it better than anyone below cage level could. Naruto, do you know, I truly believe that you just may be Hokage one day. Mizuki gave him a surprised look. The students were whispering among themselves, repeating what Iruka had just said. Naruto gave Iruka a huge grin. You mean that, Iruka-sensei? Iruka nodded solemnly. If you can do this much now, you're likely already at Jonin level, definitely high Chunin. In fact, if you like, I'd be willing to give you the graduation test now. If your scholastic knowledge is good, you could definitely pass it and become a genin right now. What? No way can that loser be stronger than me. The way they're talking about him sounds like the way they talk about Nissan. I'm an Uchiha, he can't be better than me. Sasuke thought venomously. Oh Naruto-kun, I am so proud of you. You truly are amazing, and I know you'll be a great Hokage. Because you can do anything you truly want. Hinata thought proudly but sadly. How will I get through school without you? Oh no, I can't lose Naruto-kun now. How can I make him fall completely in love with me if I'm stuck here while he's doing missions? Ino thought desperately. Damn it, this is not good. Mizuki thought of arguments against giving Naruto the graduation test now. It was rare but not unheard of. But fortunately Naruto shook his head. Thanks Iruka-sensei, but my mom already told me she wants me to stay in for the full 4 years. She says I need to develop my social skills. Iruka nodded. All right, but please tell your mother that I am prepared to administer the test at any time. Naruto nodded happily. So do you know any other jutsus? About a dozen, he said without concern. He smirked. Anything interesting? If he knew shadow clones, it only made sense he would know other lower level jutsus. But nothing could top what he'd done already. Well, I can summon. Iruka looked at him carefully. Show me please, but first, would you mind dismissing your clones? No problem. With a thought, he got rid of all his clones. Then he bit down on his thumb. Summoning technique. He slammed his hand onto the asphalt. With a large puff of smoke, a 5-foot-tall red and black frog was there. Iruka nodded. I knew the Yondaime could summon frogs. But for you to do so, you have to sign a contract. How were you able to do that? Naruto smiled. Oh, Granddad let me. Granddad. Jiraiya. He was my father's sensei and he drops by to see me whenever he's in town. You've had the great Jiraiya teach you. You've had one of the Sannin as a sensei. Well, I don't know if you can really call him my sensei. He just shows me a few things like summoning and then he goes off to do research somewhere. Tsunade's even worse, I only get to see her once a year. And she always wants to show me how to do medical jutsu. He shook his head. Iruka and Mizuki were staring at him again. I don't suppose Orochimaru visits you too, does he? Iruka asked. Who? Never mind. All right Naruto, very, very impressive. All right, let's get back to the classroom. He and Hinata had found a table in the cafeteria and were sitting down to eat. What did you bring for lunch, Naruto-kun? Naruto gave her a very happy smile. Oh, it's a real treat, Mom made her special ramen for me. I wish she would make it for me more often. But she says it's not healthy for me and stunts your growth. Well, Naruto-kun, if you ate ramen all the time, you probably wouldn't be taller than me. Hinata tried to point out the positive. Can I sit with you, Naruto-kun? Naruto turned around to see Ino standing beside him with a tray. Oh sure Ino. Smiling she took the seat across from him. She gave Hinata who was sitting next to him a very slight and quick frown. Oh Hinata-chan, are you doing anything later after class? No, why? Well Hinata-chan I thought if you like I could take you shopping with me. I mean we could get you something to wear that actually shows off your feminine side. You know instead of the gender-neutral clothes you have on now. I mean the only reason to wear a bulky beige jacket is if you're embarrassed by your figure. That's not the reason you wear it, is it Hinata-chan? Hinata felt herself wanting to shrink again. No, she said in a small voice. I mean if it is that's nothing to be ashamed of. Some girls are just late bloomers. Naruto looked at her. Ino were all 8-year-olds, no one has yet. Well you have Naruto-kun. She reached across the table to touch his forearm. Ooh, you are so muscular. How did you get so strong? Weight training and regular exercises. Can you give me some tips? I would love to see what you do. Naruto shrugged. All right, what are you doing this Saturday? She beamed at him. Nothing at all Naruto-kun. Would you like to join me and my mom for training? The smile slipped a bit. No, this is fine. I'll just impress him and his mom with my ability and we can have a real date later on. I mean it's still more than Sasuke ever agreed to. That sounds great Naruto-kun. I'd be happy to join you. Might want to reconsider that. Hinata spoke up. Their training sessions can be very extreme. She gave Hinata a smug smile. Have you trained with him? She nodded. I don't do all the exercises, but I do about half of them. Well, I'm sure that if you can handle half of them, I'll be able to do most of them. Hey Hinata-chan, why don't you come by Saturday too? We can all train together. Naruto said. Hinata looked at Ino and sent the girl a tiny grin. I'd like that Naruto-kun. Great. I'll see both of you there at 7. Naruto said. In the morning. Ino said startled. Naruto nodded. Be sure to have a big breakfast, you'll really need the energy and we won't stop until noon. Your workouts last 5 hours. The color began to drain from her face. Oh no Ino, Naruto said. The workouts last 10 hours. 5 hours is as long as Hinata-chan can last. Is that a problem? Her smile looked a bit shaky but she shook her head. Naruto, would you mind if we join you? Naruto looked up to see 3 girls all smiling at him and holding trays of food. He nodded and gave them all an inviting smile. The kids sure were friendly. But why did Hinata look so worried? It's not a problem that I invited her, is it mom? Naruto asked as the 4 of them were heading back from the academy. No, honey, of course not. I want you to make friends. You are welcome to invite whoever you like home, just let me know. She stopped to pick up a couple of pebbles. Inviting friends over is fine. In a blur she threw the 2 pebbles at a large tree they were passing underneath. Ow, ow. 2 8-year-old girls dropped out of the tree onto the street. Kushina stood over them frowning with arms crossed. Why are you following us? Delona looked up in a panic for her life. Please don't kill us, she wailed. Kushina shut her eyes and shook her head. I'm not going to hurt you. But don't stalk my son. If he wants to see you after school he'll invite you. But if he doesn't, I expect you to leave him be. We weren't stalking Naruto-kun. We just wanted to see where he was going. Delona said. Did he know that? No. Delona said weakly. That's stalking. Don't do it again. Now go. The 2 girls wasted no time running away. Kushina returned to her son's side. Tell me something Naruto-kun, how many girls had lunch with you today? Not counting Hinata. 7. Well, it's official then. Kushina said in a flat voice. What? You have a fan club. She took out a kunai and tossed it at a trash can. The can flipped end over end, spilling garbage over the 8-year-old girl who had been hiding behind it. Eek! The girl shouted in terror. Go home and don't follow my son again. The girl fled. She gave her son a look that was amused and annoyed at the same time. My son, the heartthrob. It's okay. Mom, I'll just tell the girls to leave me alone tomorrow. Kushina, Kurenai, and even Hinata looked at him as though he were an idiot. Naruto-kun, I really don't think that will do any good. Hinata said quietly. Why not? Because Naruto-kun, you're not a person to them, you're an ideal. Kushina said as she picked up another pebble. Huh. Kushina threw the pebble and a young girl in a yellow dress fell out of a tree. You, stalking, bad, don't. She shouted as the girl ran for her life. Now, as I was saying, except for Hinata, did any of those girls today really know you? I mean, other than your name, your ambition, and the fact that you are already powerful. Well, no, he said. Yet they're willing to risk a terrible and painful death. She shouted the last part and came to a halt. Every girl who has been following my son has until the count of 5 to get out of here before I take out my sword and start cutting off heads. 5. Immediately 6 different girls came out of their hiding places and began to run away screaming. She looked at her son. None of these girls actually think they're going to get you. So just telling them you're not interested won't help. You're an ideal to them now. An ideal? Kushina nodded. They look at you and see the perfect and unattainable. Being with you is a magical quest. They know the attempt is bound to fail, but they still want to try because you represent an ideal to these girls of everything they imagine they want in a boyfriend. They want to pursue you because in an odd way they think it brings them closer to this perfection they can never really have. So what can I do, Mom? Kushina frowned. Well, if you'd known what to do you might have nipped this in the bud. But I neglected to tell you how to handle things. She sighed. Unfortunately, now that the fan club has actually formed, you're left with only 2 options. One option would be to ruin the reputation you have now. You could answer every question wrong, try to be loud and obnoxious, start playing a bunch of annoying pranks, and maybe replace the Hokage cloak with a bright orange jumpsuit. Naruto looked at her in horror. Mom, don't even joke about that. Kushina grinned. Well, that leaves option 2. Get a girlfriend. What? Hinata thought. What? Naruto cried out. Mom, I thought I was trying to get the girls to leave me alone. Kushina nodded. That's the goal, Naruto-kun. How does having a girlfriend help with having girls chase after me? Simple. By having one girlfriend you immediately ruin the ideal all the other girls have. Even if you are unattainable, they still want to only chase boys who are unattached. If you have a girlfriend, that will take the steam out of most of the fan girls. Naruto frowned at her. I don't know, Mom. I mean, even if I wanted to, which girl would I pick? Kushina raised an eyebrow. Well, son, who would you feel comfortable spending time with, being alone with, and maybe even walking around hand in hand with? She glanced to where Naruto and Hinata were holding hands. Naruto seemed to struggle. That's just it, Mom. I don't feel comfortable with any of them. The only person in the whole class one feel comfortable around is Hinata-chan. Kushina just looked at her son blankly for a bit and waited. He didn't seem to get it. Finally she asked. Who? Hinata-chan. She cupped a hand to her ear. Who? He frowned at her. I said Hinata-chan. I feel comfortable around Hinata-chan. And then the light seemed to come on. Oh, I could have Hinata-chan be my girlfriend. Kushina smiled. Why, Naruto-kun, what a wonderful idea. Asking the girl you know and trust. But Naruto frowned. I don't think it would work though. Why not Naruto-kun? Hinata asked. He looked at her in surprise. Come on, Hinata-chan. Can you see me as your boyfriend? Hinata hung her head and didn't bother to answer. Kushina looked on but decided to not say anything. If he doesn't see it, there's no point trying to force things. Well, they're both young. All good things in time. Well, Naruto-kun, I hope you enjoy being an ideal. Great. He began looking around, wondering if there were any more girls following him. Kushina picked up a pebble. Well, on the bright side, this should be good preparation for when you become Hokage. Most of the villagers never met your father, but they loved and idolized him. She threw the pebble into some bush in the front of a residence. Ow! The bush cried out. Though the villagers didn't stalk him. They made it back to the Namikaze estates without saying much more. They also made it, running into only 2 more fangirls. Naruto-kun, go on in, I'll be a minute. Naruto nodded and went in through the gate. Once he was out of hearing, she turned to Hinata. Hinata-chan, I would like to talk to you for a minute. Kurenai looked at Kushina. Would you like some privacy? Kushina shook her head. I don't mind if you hear this, Kurenai. She smiled at Hinata. This will just be between us girls. What is it, Kushina? Hinata asked morosely. Kushina reached out and gently put a hand on each shoulder. Hinata-chan, don't give up on him. She looked surprised. What do you mean? Just what I said. Don't give up on him or on the idea of being with him eventually. I know it doesn't seem like it right now, but Naruto thinks the world of you. And I know just how deeply you care about him too. She sighed. Naruto-kun doesn't even see me as a potential girlfriend. Right now he doesn't, but Hinata-chan, you are both still so very young. Things can change with time. But the important thing is that today wasn't a decisive moment, so don't worry too much. Decisive moment? Kushina smiled kindly. In all of our lives, Hinata-chan, there come a certain number of decisive moments. These are crossroads in our life's journey. They are times when your life can move into one or another very different path. Would you like to hear about mine? Hinata nodded eagerly. Well, not too surprisingly, mine involved a certain man. Would you like to hear how Minato and I came to be? Oh yes, please. Well, he was in Whirlpool Country commanding a small force of leaf nins that were there to help us drive out some damn rock nins from our territory. I worked with him closely, and from the very start we flirted with one another mercilessly. She stopped and smiled fondly at the memory. Anyway, after a month the rock nins had been driven out and Minato was going to lead his men back home. We were saying our goodbyes. And as I was saying goodbye to him, I just knew it was a decisive moment in my life. He wasn't Hokage then, but he was the Yellow Flash of Konoha, a ninja legend, and the most beautiful man I ever laid eyes on. I knew that I would probably never see him again, and my heart ached at the thought. It was a decisive moment, and I decided to follow my heart. What did you do? Hinata asked wide-eyed. Kushina's eyes warmed. I grabbed him and gave him the most passionate kiss of my life. Hinata gasped. You didn't. Kushina laughed. Oh yes, I did. And you should have seen the look on his face. But you see, Hinata-chan, everything else that happened, our falling in love, our marriage, and the birth of our son all started from that decision to follow my heart. I took a chance, and if I hadn't, then none of it would have happened. Do you understand what I am telling you, Hinata-chan? When your decisive moment comes, listen to your heart and follow its dictates, no matter how frightening. Hinata looked down again and began pressing her fingers together. Wah, what if you're not strong enough to follow your heart? Kushina paused for a bit and really regretted what she was about to say. Then you don't deserve him. Hinata gasped and her face shot back up. What? Kushina went down on her knees while keeping a gentle hold on Hinata's shoulders. Hinata-chan, you are a dear sweet child and I am very fond of you. I do not doubt that you will grow into a fine woman and one day be a fine wife. But Naruto-kun is no ordinary person. He is going to be an extraordinary man, just as his father was. And for such a man, an ordinary wife will never do. Until now his life has been hard and it will only get harder. There are things about him that you do not know, terrible things. Within him is an unlimited potential, not only for greatness but for the tragic as well. From the day of his birth until the day his life ends, his life will be a bitter struggle against enemies you cannot imagine, both within and without. I believe he will triumph in the end no matter the odds, because he has within him his father's courage. He has that rare strength to do what must be done, whatever the cost. She paused for a bit and Hinata was entranced. She hung on every word. She knew this was vitally important. Kushina's green eyes bored into Hinata's lavender ones. When I took my marriage vows, I pledged everything to be with him. My life, my heart, my very soul, I offered everything I was and ever would be so I could be with the one I loved. For to be with a truly great man, nothing less would ever have been enough. Can you do the same, Hinata-chan? Can you pledge everything to be with him? Can you offer your life, your heart, and your very soul to stand beside him? Do you love him that much? Because if you cannot give him everything that you are and ever could be, then you do not deserve him. The little girl looked at her stunned and lost. Kushina, shish. Kushina put a finger to her lips and shushed her. You don't have to answer me now. In fact, you don't have to answer me at all. But one day, Hinata-chan, likely years from now, your moment will come and you will have to answer then. She leaned forward and gave the small child a kiss on her forehead. Good night, Hinata-chan. I will see you in the morning. With that, she left to return to her home and her son. The first 3 weeks at the academy went well. Naruto found nothing hard in either Iruka's lessons or in Mizuki-sensei's. He excelled in all the subjects with relative ease. The truth was, there was nothing he was being taught that his mother had not already covered and gone far beyond. His mom had given him a crash course on girls and taught him how to be polite to them without encouraging them too much. Ultimately, he had decided not to get a girlfriend and simply endure the attention of most of his female classmates. At least the stalking had come to a stop after a couple days. His mom had taken out her sword and swung it around her head while unleashing a high-pitched and undulating battle cry. After that, the girl settled for showing him attention in the classroom. Ino maintained her flirtatious ways and Naruto put up with it more or less with good humor. Throughout, Hinata was always the one at his side. She had begun to train with him and his mom more. Hinata remained his absolute best friend, but he also began to make another close friend. Checkmate. A lazy boy said. Naruto sat back and studied the board for a moment. You surprised me. Want to play again? Shikamaru nodded. You know, Naruto, I have to give you credit, you're the only one besides my dad who will play with me on a regular basis. You're also the only person besides him to ever beat me. He began to set the board up again. Naruto shrugged. I like playing with you, Shika. It's a challenge and the games help me develop my strategic thinking. He looked at him suspiciously. You know, you are a lot smarter than you like to let on. Why don't you try harder? Or even try a little? I mean, you're the dead last in the class. Shikamaru sent him a disinterested look. So? Naruto frowned at him. So don't you want to be as good as you possibly can? Don't you want to be great? Too troublesome. I just want to be average. Why do you want to excel so much? Because I want to be the greatest Hokage Konoha has ever seen. He said almost automatically. Shikamaru smiled. Greatest. Wouldn't just being Hokage be enough for you? No. Naruto said seriously. My father was the hero who saved this village from the Kyuubi. He gave everything to save Konoha. I want to be like him and even greater. I love Konoha and its people and I want to protect them and keep them safe. And I want to be better than any who came before, otherwise what's the point? That won't leave you very much time for watching clouds or playing shogi. Shikamaru pointed out. No, but if I can keep Konoha safe, I'll gladly make that sacrifice. Shikamaru smiled, spoken like a real Hokage. Would you boys like some cookies? She entered the game room with a tray. They're still hot. Thanks, Mom. Naruto said. Thank you. She smiled at the two boys. This was the first time he'd brought over a male friend. She chuckled thinking about the first time he'd brought over a female. 10 miles. Ino paled. Naruto smiled at her. It's a really good warm-up. Once you're done, your body is warm and loose and you can hit the obstacle course. Obstacle course? Come on, I'll show you. He led her to the other side of the mansion and pointed out its features. You wade through the mud pit, go through the monkey bars, swim across the pond, chakra walk up the 100-foot tower, and then down the zip line. Ino looked at him uncomfortably and wondered what he would think if she told him she couldn't swim or chakra walk and really wasn't eager to go waist deep in mud. So we'll normally do the course 5 times. Then we'll start on the taijutsu sparring. Just so you know, my mom knows a few medical jutsus, so don't worry when you spar with her. She thought her heart stopped. Whoa, hold it. I'm going to spar your mother. I was sort of hoping to spar with you, Naruto-kun. Well, I'm sure you were, dear. Kushina said to her with a smile. But I want to see what you're made of. Don't worry, I probably won't break any bones, and if I do, I'll get you the hospital very quickly. Naruto frowned at his mother. Mom, you said you would take it easy on her. Kushina shrugged. I said I wouldn't break any bones. Anyway, after that we usually break for an hour to eat lunch. After lunch we'll do basic exercises to build up strength and endurance. 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, 1,000 crunches, 1,500 jumping jacks and 500 pull-ups. Ino stared at him and his mom, praying that they would burst out into laughter and tell her they were kidding. Then after that it's time for weapons training. My mom and I will work on sword work, but you're free to work on shuriken and kunai. Then we finish off with a relaxing 5-mile run. Ino stared at him. And this is your regular workout? He nodded. On days when I'm not in school. On school days I have a 3-hour workout. He frowned at his mother. I'd do more, but she doesn't want me to exhaust myself. So anyway, you ready to go? She grinned weakly. Sure. You ready, Hinata-chan? Of course, Naruto-kun. All right. Let's have a really great workout. Naruto said excitedly and led the 4 of them along the trail that ran around the estates. After about 100 yards. Ow. Oh, ow. Ow. It hurts. Ino collapsed to the ground and grabbed at her ankle. Naruto was quickly kneeling at her side with Kushina and Hinata standing a bit behind him. What happened? Naruto asked. Oh Naruto-kun, I am so sorry. But I twisted my ankle. Ino said bravely. Oh, that's too bad, Ino. Are you alright? Naruto sympathized. What incredible bad luck. Kushina said. It really is unbelievable. Hinata giggled. Naruto-kun, I hate to do this, but I won't be able to work out with you. Would you mind carrying me home? She asked pleadingly. You know, Ino, my mom could probably heal you. Naruto said. No. I don't want to trouble her. I think it would be best if you could just get me home. Well, okay, Ino. Naruto made to pick her up, but his mom put her hand on his shoulder. Actually, Naruto-kun is the adult, it's my responsibility to get her safely home. Kushina said. I would really prefer if Naruto-kun carried me. Ino pleaded. I am sure you would, dear. Kushina picked her up. You two continue on, I'll be back in a few minutes. She leapt away without even giving Ino a chance to say anything more. Naruto looked over to Hinata. Hinata-chan, why are you laughing? Oh, no reason, Naruto-kun. She tried but couldn't stop laughing. Listen, Naruto, I'm having a birthday next week. And even though it's troublesome, my parents are throwing me a party. You want to come? Both Naruto and his mom were taken by surprise and stared at him. Did I say something wrong? Shikamaru, Kushina said carefully. Do your parents know you wish to invite Naruto? Of course, he answered without concern. I wouldn't have asked him without being sure my mom wouldn't be troublesome. My folks say that if I want you to come, you're welcome. Naruto looked excitedly at his mom. Mom, can I? Kushina smiled and nodded. Of course, son. She looked to Shikamaru and actually gave him a slight bow. Shikamaru, thank you for extending this invitation to my son. Are you coming in with us, Mom? Naruto asked. Kushina smiled. She had of course escorted her son and Hinata to the Nara residence. No, Naruto-kun, you and Hinata go in and have a good time, I'll be here when you're ready to return. With that she leapt away. They had each brought a gift, and as they approached the front door they could hear the sound of music and the high-pitched laughter of children. As they stood ready to ring the bell, Hinata noticed something. Naruto-kun, you look nervous. I am Hinata-chan. This is the first time I've ever been invited to a friend's house. I mean, except for all the times I stayed at Hyuga. Hinata smiled easily. She found it to be an odd role reversal to be the confident one for a change. I have been to many formal dinners and functions. It'll be fine, Naruto-kun. You have been invited and I know your manners are excellent. I guess you're right. He reached out and rang the doorbell. The door was opened a moment later by a man who looked like an older version of Shikamaru with some facial scars. Naruto and Hinata both bowed. Thank you for welcoming to your home, Shikaku-san. His mother had been sure to inform him of the names of both of Shika's parents. Yes, Hinata added. We are both very happy to have been extended invitations to your son's birthday party. Shikaku gave them both an easy grin. No need to be so formal, you can call me Shikaku. Come on in, you are both welcome. They entered hand in hand. Most of their classmates were already there. The girls who were there immediately noticed him entering with his usual Hokage cloak. As the girls swarmed towards him, he tightened his grip on Hinata's hand. Please don't leave me, Hinata-chan. He whispered to her, not wanting to be trapped by a pack of them. Hearing him say those words, she blushed a bit and smiled. I won't leave you, Naruto-kun. Wow. Delona said dreamily. Beautiful. Another girl cooed. So graceful. Ino sighed. Oh, he's not that good. An annoyed Sakura said. Sasuke is a much better dancer. Oh yeah, Ino smirked. How would you even know, forehead? I haven't seen him dance. He said he might dance with me later. Sakura said defensively. Don't hold your breath. Ino said flatly. Stung Sakura shot back. Oh yeah, Ino pig, well, I haven't seen him dance with you yet. The only one he has danced with is Hinata. I know. Ino frowned. She really wanted to dance with him. Hinata had never enjoyed herself so much at a party. The formal functions she went to as part of her responsibility as the Hyuga heir were always dry, boring, and lifeless. The only parties she had ever attended that she had really enjoyed were Naruto's birthday parties. And this was better because they had never danced before. Dancing had never been a part of those celebrations. But here a space had been cleared in the living room and music was playing loudly. All the girls wanted to dance with him. But he did not really feel comfortable with anyone but her, and so the two of them danced exclusively. And she had discovered he was a marvelous dancer. She knew why, of course. She had watched him train with his sword many, many times. Unlike using kunai or shuriken, a large part of using a sword effectively was proper footwork. The fighting styles were actually called dances, and he had mastered one of them, the dance of the camellia. Watching the way he could move and flow with his sword was beautiful, and those movements transferred well to the dance floor. She had never danced with him before and just loved the shared movement and the feel of all his attention focused solely on her. As they danced, the song they were listening to ended. The next song was a slow one. The two of them stopped for a moment and looked around. There were 6 other couples dancing when the song came on. 4 of them decided to leave the dance floor. The other 2 danced close with the boy holding the girl around her back just above her hips. Hinata expected he would want to take a break from dancing. But instead Naruto grabbed her around her hips and pulled her close. Eek! The sound came out of her before she could stop it. Naruto gave her a look of surprise. Is something wrong, Hinata-chan? No, Naruto-kun. He shrugged and pulled her close like the other 2 couples who were dancing. It took her just a moment to settle down being so close to him, but she slowly did and put her head down on his shoulder. Once she did manage to calm down, she sort of regretted having her big beige coat on. She shut her eyes and just relaxed as they slowly moved in rhythm to the music. She let out a contented sigh. Naruto-kun. Sakura saw the way Ino was looking at the two of them. Jealous much, Ino pig? Ino gave her a nasty grin. Isn't it time for you to go up to Sasuke and get ignored again? Ino looked back at the two of them. Well, aren't they cute, but it won't last. She is not his type. Why are you smiling like that? Naruto asked suspiciously. Like what, Naruto-kun? His mother asked innocently. They had dropped off Hinata and were going up the walkway to the front door. Like you know something. Naruto accused. Like what? I don't know. Kushina patted her son's shoulder. Naruto-kun, really? Are you suspicious of your own mother? He looked a bit embarrassed. No, of course not. I'm sorry, Mom. That's all right, son, I forgive you. She opened the front door and they both entered the mansion. By the way, son, you and Hinata made the cutest couple on the dance floor. His mom gave him a huge smile. Mom, you were spying on me. Naruto accused. I prefer to call it protective surveillance. They were gathered in the dojo. After making certain all the students at least knew the basics, Mizuki had told them it was time for them to begin sparring one another. The academy was designed to foster competition. The students were encouraged to develop their individual excellence. Teamwork was also important, of course, and there were team building exercises as well. But the atmosphere was deliberately kept competitive. All right, everyone, to begin with, we will have the boys fight the boys and then the girls will fight each other. Mizuki announced. Once we have a pecking order of the strongest and weakest in each group, we will begin having the boys and girls fight each other as well. Now I want all of you to fight as hard as you can. Keep in mind that someday you will have to fight for your lives. Do not get into the habit of holding back. I want all of you to do your absolute best. He smiled at all of them. With that in mind, we are not here to deliberately hurt anyone. If someone is hurt during the match, no one will find any fault with that. But please do not strike a fallen or unconscious opponent. If I tell you to stop, do so immediately and take a couple steps back. Also, if you see blood, please halt. As he'd known it would, the last comment got their attention. Most looked just a little bit uncomfortable. Mizuki knew that was good. Up until now, most of them had only sparred with family or friends who held back from hurting them. It was time for them to fight with the understanding that they could be hurt. Time to toughen them up a little bit. Some of them didn't seem at all bothered or worried. Kiba was grinning and looked eager to scrap. Sasuke just smirked, probably thinking no one here was good enough to touch him. Naruto didn't change at all. He had the usual confident look about him. All right, demon, let's test you. Naruto and Kiba, please come forward. The two boys did so and took positions across from one another on the mat. Bow to one another. The boys gave each other respectful bows. Assume a fighting stance. Kiba took up a normal taijutsu stance. Naruto put one foot a bit in front and the other a little behind and out to the side. One hand he held out in front of his face and the other behind his head near his ear. Kiba sent him a look. What's with the weird stance? It's the starting position for crane style. He replied simply. All right, begin. Eager Kiba ran straight in trying to launch a strong if slightly clumsy attack. Naruto took a quick sidestep, reached out and punched the back of his head. Kiba stumbled forward and fell face down on the mat unconscious. The match was ended in less than 10 seconds. Very well done, Naruto. Really impressive. Mizuki gave the boy a big encouraging smile. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and returned the smile. He liked Mizuki-sensei. The girls were standing in a group a bit separate from the boys. They all watched as Naruto walked triumphantly off the mat. Ino sighed. He is so amazing, I so love him. No you don't, Ino. The girl next to her said. She instantly turned and glared at the girl. What did you say, Hinata-chan? Hinata calmly faced the irate blonde. I said you don't love him. She felt strangely comfortable and did not stutter or stumble over her words. You don't even really know him. To you he's just some ideal. The other girls all quieted down and listened to the two of them. Oh, so I suppose you know him better? Ino demanded. I've known Naruto-kun my whole life. She said simply. And I can't remember a time when I didn't love him. Ino sneered. Too bad you two are just friends. Hinata's eyes went to the floor. Maybe that'll change one day. Sensing an advantage, she pushed it. Yeah, right. You are soon not his type. I mean, seriously, do you think he'll end up with a quiet little mouse like you? Hinata's eyes came back up and she sent Ino a hard look she had never suspected the quiet girl even capable of. I'm not a mouse. I'm a kunoichi and heir to one of the strongest clans in Konoha. And even if I am a little shy, Ino, never think that means I'm scared. Oh yeah, you really think you'll end up with him? I don't know, she said honestly. I don't know if I'll ever be strong enough to deserve someone like Naruto-kun. But I've decided that I want to be someone who would be worthy of his love. I've started working hard to become such a person and I'll continue to work towards that goal. Because to me Naruto-kun is worth that sacrifice, he is the one I love and the one who gives me courage. Well, I'm going to get stronger too. And there's no way I'll lose Naruto-kun to you. Hinata shook her head. This isn't a competition. Ha, that just shows what you know. When it comes to getting the boy you want, it's always a competition and I intend to win. Hinata frowned at her. Is that all Naruto-kun is to you? The prize in a contest? Are you really that shallow? What? She began shaking her fist. What did you just call me, you little mouse? Is there a problem? Mizuki asked. Mizuki-sensei, I want to fight her right now. Mizuki looked at her in surprise. Usually it was the boys who developed grudges and demanded to settle them in a spar. He had planned to finish with the boys first, but if Ino was this adamant, it would be better to get this out of the way. Do you have an objection, Hinata? She shook her head. No, Mizuki-sensei. He shrugged. Very well, both of you come forward and take your positions. Hinata took a step and halted. She thought for a moment and came to a decision. She unzipped her beige jacket and left it on the floor. The boys were all watching as Ino and Hinata took their positions on the mat. This was the very first time any of them had seen her without a jacket. Even Naruto had not seen her without that jacket since she started wearing it about half a year ago. Hey! Kiba shouted. Hinata's got tush. Almost immediately Kiba was grabbed around the collar and was yanked forward until he was nose to nose with a very angry Naruto. What did you just say, dog boy? Naruto growled. Kiba gulped and felt the urge to whimper and turn up his belly. Nothing. Naruto let him loose and turned back to the girls. Wow. Hinata-chan has tush. Having bowed to one another, Ino smiled. Naruto's watching us. I know. Assume a fighting stance. Mizuki commanded. Ino snapped into a standard Goken stance. Byakugan. Activating her bloodline, the veins near her eyes popped up, giving her a suddenly fearsome look. She dropped into a Juken fighting stance. Ino suddenly looked to Mizuki. Hey, is that allowed? Is there a problem, Ino? I told all of you to fight to the best of your ability, and Gentle Fist is the fighting style of the Hyuga. But I didn't think she could actually use it. Ino felt just a little worried. She'd heard of Gentle Fist and it was one of Konoha's strongest fighting styles. Mizuki frowned at her. Surprises and false assumptions are a part of ninja life. Consider this a valuable lesson for the future. Maybe you should twist your ankle. Hinata said sweetly. Ino glared at the girl. Woohoo! Kick her ass, Hinata-chan. Naruto shouted. Hinata smiled happily. Watch me, Naruto-kun. All right, Mizuki spoke. Begin. She did IB on Burbos. Ino got out as she pressed the bloodied cloth to her nose. Hinata bowed. I apologize, Ino. I did not intend to break your nose. Ino glared at her, clearly not believing it. Mizuki shook his head. Hinata, you have nothing to apologize for. Bloodshed is inevitable when there is conflict. He looked at all the boys and girls. Take a good look and get used to the sight. If you become ninja, you will see it often. Ino, go to the medic nin's office. You are dismissed from the remainder of this session. Mizuki got back to the spars. About 20 minutes later, another Chunin instructor arrived and spoke quietly to Mizuki. Mizuki listened and then called out. Naruto. The academy administrator wishes to speak with you. Please go with Larm. Naruto nodded. Yes, Mizuki-sensei. He followed the Chunin instructor out of the dojo and down one of the halls. Naruto quickly noticed something. I beg pardon, Larm-sensei, but isn't the administration office the other way? Larm shot Naruto a hard look. The administrator wished to speak with you somewhere else. Why? Naruto asked curiously. I don't know, I'm simply following orders. Now come along and don't ask questions. Naruto didn't appreciate the tone but nevertheless followed. They went up to the third floor where the fourth-year students were being taught. As they went down the hall, Naruto noted all the classrooms seemed to be empty. The senior students were all outside doing their physical training. Larm came to a stop and so did Naruto. The Chunin pointed to room 315. The administrator is in there waiting for you. Naruto remained exactly where he was. Well, what are you waiting for? Naruto had a hand on his belt. With one finger he pressed a button there, activating his radio communicator. The microphone was in the collar of his bodysuit, so anything he said would go out so long as the communicator was in the send position. Pardon me, but just why are we here on the third floor standing in front of room 315 again? He asked casually. Larm frowned at him. I've already told you the administrator wishes to speak with you. Yes, but you haven't said why. You are being insolent. Do not keep the administrator waiting. Actually, would you mind asking him to come out and talk to me in the hall? Don't be ridiculous. Now get in that room right now or you will be in a great deal of trouble. Naruto looked at the man's eyes. He saw fear and a mounting panic there. He saw a bead of sweat run down the side of his face. His eyes twitched nervously toward the door. You're lying, Naruto said quietly. In an instant he was dodging and pulling his sword out as Larm threw a pair of kunai at him and cried out. The door to the room opened and 4 men came out, all of them holding knives. Larm launched himself forward with a kunai in each hand. Naruto was on his feet and began the dance of the camellia. He took advantage of his height. He slid forward underneath his opponent's kunai strike. He drove his sword up and in with all his might, aiming for the zipper that was in his Chunin vest. The sword struck and with savage might he drove the blade all the way through. Larm cried out as he was skewered. Naruto yanked his sword back out again and took a couple steps back as the Chunin pitched forward, dead or soon to be dead. His blood was spreading away from him. The 4 men who had come storming out of the room all came to a sudden halt at the sight they were confronted by. Their Chunin ally lying still on the floor in a pool of his own blood. Meanwhile their intended target was standing there with a bloodied sword eyeing them with a frightening calm. Is something wrong? He asked pleasantly. It's a little late for second thoughts. The men all looked at each other, clearly frightened and unsure of what they should do. Well, if you really want, we can just stand here and wait another minute and a half for my mom to arrive. As he'd known it would, that settled them. They rushed at him with a shout, waving their knives about. He waited for them like a wolf waiting for some rabbits. It took 4 sword strokes and 2 steps to deal with them. It's over, Mom. He switched the communicator to receive. Naruto, are you all right? His mother's panic-stricken voice came over the link. I'm fine, Mom, he assured her. Are you still near room 315? Yes, Mom. Stay there. I'll be with you in just a minute. Oh. Okay, Mom. He switched off the radio. Now he could try and slow down his heartbeat. He looked down at the bodies of the 5 men he had slaughtered. As he took out a rag and started leaning his sword, he wondered why they hated him so much. And here it is. New update. I hope you like what I've done. Stay tuned for the next part, in which I'll be cooking